So you may remember vectors, or you should remember vectors, where we have a direction and a magnitude, and in two-dimensional space we typically notated these something like either using angle brackets, so 2 in the horizontal direction, 3 in the vertical direction, or using the vectors I and j as the unit vectors in the horizontal and in the vertical direction. Being I and j. So extending this into 3 dimensions is really the same idea. We're just going to need a third component to our vector. So if we have our x, y, and z coordinates here, and we have a vector that says, say, points 1 in the x direction, 2 in the y direction, and 3 in the z direction. So, points to 1 in the x, 2 in the y, and 3 in the z. So if we have a vector that points from here to here, then it's pointing 1 in the x, 2 in the y, 3 in the z, and we can write it using angle bracket notation like this, or we can use the similar ij notation, adding in a third component. So let's get the right coefficients in there. So 1i, 2j, and 3 in the k direction. So we'll introduce k as the unit vector in the z direction. Okay, so in 3D, we can do most of the same stuff that we could do in 2 dimensions. So for example, if I had the vector u was 1, 2, 3, and the vector v was 0, -1, 4, then I could go ahead and add these two vectors together, and I can do that component-wise. So I can add the x components, add the y components, add the z components to find the sum of those vectors. Likewise, I could scale a vector. If I wanted to find 2u, I can simply scale each component of that vector by 2 units. If I need to find the magnitude of a vector, the double bars here meaning magnitude or length of the vector, then we can basically use the distance formula to find the length of the vector. It's going to be the sum of the squares of the components. So 1 plus 4 plus 9 here, or root 14, as the magnitude of that vector. So we can go ahead and add vectors, scale vectors, find the magnitude of vectors in 3-dimensional space, very similar to how we did in 2-dimensional space.